For some, purchasing real estate can be seen as a liability, a risk. For others, real estate investing has been the most lucrative business decision they have ever made in their lifetimes. For myself, for this guy, there has been no other lucrative venture that has compared to the money that I have made in terms of real estate investment. Hola amigos, I'm Trev. Before we get into the video, I would kindly ask that you hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell because this really lets me know what video content that you, the viewer, likes to see more of. There it is, my first house, my first real estate investment. When I purchased it, it was said to be over 100 years old, but there was one really cool thing. It sat on a big 50 by 100-foot lot. It was truly massive, and that's what enticed me to buy the property, not so much the house, but the land that it was on. And another super cool feature, it was a duplex. This was ideal because it was my first house and I really didn't have that much money when I first started off in real estate. So by letting me rent out one apartment and living in the other, I could offset some of my living costs and really get started in the industry. At the time, the house was purchased for about $120,000, which is a super great deal. If you were to look at the same house today, it would probably be worth about $500,000 or $600,000, something crazy like that. I was actually quite young when I bought my first house, and when most people buy their first house, they're blinded by the fact that they have a place to live, a place to hang out, and that it's beautiful and that you have all this land. But what I was not ready for were all the headaches that would come with home ownership. What do I mean by that? The maintenance, the things that you would have to do. Remember, this house was over 100 years old. I think it was built during World War II. I really don't know. For all I know, it could have been older than the Queen Elizabeth herself. Upon moving into this very old house, I knew many areas would need upgrading, but upgrading meant spending money, money that I didn't necessarily have at the time. What I did have money for were the things that actually let me own the house, like closing costs, such as money as having for the lawyer and the down payment, the money that helped me buy the property. Not having too much money at the time that I bought my house, it was really time to roll up my sleeves and get dirty. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, when people do have extra money, they can hire people to say, upgrade the kitchen or upgrade the washroom. I did not have that extra money, but what I did have was the willingness to get my hands dirty. Look at painting, for instance. A lot of people really hate painting because it's time consuming and it's labor intensive. But that was something that I could do. I couldn't do plumbing, I couldn't do electrical. Those types of works were out of my realm, but I could paint. So I painted the whole house. And when you paint, you create sweat equity. Equity is another word for dinero. Going back many years to the time that I bought the house, I never really thought it would go up in value, but I did hope for it because I would constantly read statistics of, let's say, immigration. So if immigration in Canada continued to rise year after year, that meant that there would be more demand for housing. And eventually the house started to appreciate in value and the equity also went up. After 8 years of dealing with tenants, all the headaches of having to deal with people, different tenants every year or every 2 years, I decided to sell the house and profit. You might hear a lot of people on Instagram and YouTube and bloggers saying that, well, real estate is the best investment and rental properties are the best investment. And they might be saying that during a 30-second video. But the fact of the matter is, I own this property for 8 years, and you really got to put in the work to make that profit. The thing is, when people go online, again, they hear these short little videos on how it seems super easy to get a rental property and make money, but it's really not. You got to be willing to put in the work. 1 year before I sold my first property, the duplex, I had already bought another property close to the city. So now I was dealing with two properties. And the second property I bought was not a duplex. It was a single family home, a townhouse with two bedrooms and one washroom. And it was not as old as the first house I bought, the house that was as old as Queen Elizabeth. With the profits that I made of the first house, I used 80% and put that into the mortgage loan on the second property, right? I thought I would play it smart. I didn't want to have all this cash in my bank account because when you have cash in your account, it gives you the temptation to spend it on perhaps stupid things that are not investments, like trips, products, things that we all really like. But, a lot of the things that we like are not investments, right? Like going out for dinner every night or going to Miami on the weekends. These are not investments. Honestly, it actually felt like 9 years that I finally made money in real estate. Look, there are some people who get into the game at the right time and they might make solid equity in the first year or two, but that was not the case for me. I had to wait 6, 7, 8, 9 years before I finally made good money from real estate. You got to put in the work, remember? You got to roll up those sleeves. Because after the 9 year mark, immigration continued to rise in the country, which meant that there was more of a demand for houses, right? So, what happens when there's more demand? Prices go up. And then when the prices finally went up to my liking, I sold the first property, right? And that was gone. I bought my second house in the city of Burlington, Ontario, which is quite close to Toronto, and I bought it for about $249,000. At the time, that was a great deal. Fun fact, the early bird gets the worm. Well, what does that mean? I remember the first day that my second house went on the market. I went and I looked at it with the listing agent. I made an offer and I got the house because I didn't wait and I didn't over negotiate. I didn't scare away the seller from making the deal with me. I let the seller have their desired closing date. Now, after a couple years of owning the second house, property values started to skyrocket, which definitely put a huge smile on this guy's face. The house was situated 30 minutes away from a major city, and if anybody is going to invest in real estate, you're going to give yourself stronger chances of making a good profit if you're either in a big city or you're around it. Why? Well, because there's more work there, there's more money there, there's more chances of employment. Many people think now that in the year 2022, houses are unaffordable. People are starting to live that minimalistic lifestyle, and I get that. Houses are becoming very unaffordable for many people, but you got to find a way to get into the market because houses could keep going up and it could be a great investment for you or your family. So, 3 years or 4 years into having the second property, I decided to rent that out and then turn that into a business. I have been renting out to this couple for a couple of years now, and they don't give me any problems. I actually live in Colombia, South America. So, without those people renting in Canada, in Burlington, I don't think I could actually have started my life here in Colombia because I would have to pay for that house in Canada and live here in Colombia. Financially, it would be a stretch. Looking at my life now, I would have never had the ability to make solid earnings and increase my net worth if it were not for real estate investing. That has honestly been the biggest factor for me in increasing my net worth was starting with an old duplex that I really didn't know if it was going to make money or not. I had the vision that it would, but it all started with that. It all started with some old, crappy looking duplex. Again, I live in Latin America. I live in Colombia, and I actually walk a lot. And I see all these beautiful houses that are around with for sale signs on them. They are single family houses, but they have 2 floors, and they have washrooms on each floor that could be easily converted into full washrooms. And you could turn these houses into duplex, but I don't really see too many people doing that. I don't see a lot of people taking advantage of that. I'm not going to do that because I've already done it and I want to move on to different things. I want to move on to greener pastures. So basically, after over a decade of investing in property, I have financial freedom. I can honestly say that now I have financial freedom. I don't live as if I do because I like to live with some stress and uncertainty that I don't know what tomorrow will bring. So I continue to tell myself don't get too comfortable. So you keep working and working, but investing in real estate has been it for me. Guys, I hope you're enjoying the video. Please, when you have time, visit the link in the description for remote job information, informative blogs, and more. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and smash that notification bell. Make dinero, baby.